Hello and welcome to Revolutionize Your Relationship. I am your host, Eva Blake. And in this series, I'm talking to a wide variety of experts who are uniquely qualified to educate and empower you to master your mind and body intimacy, to unleash your passion and to create everything that you desire in life and in love, because you are absolutely worth it. And so today I'm excited to introduce you to Amy Louise Cash. Amy Louise works with women all over the world to find their voice, to unlock their truth, and to step into the most intentional version of themselves so that the world can experience the unique medicine that they are. She is a thought leader and transformational relationship coach, the host and founder of Up Sisterhood The Podcast, and a woman who is deeply connected to the medicine of the earth. So welcome here, Amy Louise.
Thank you for having me. That was a beautiful intro.
Thank you. Thank you. So, in this series, we're talking about creating amazing relationships, creating something that is fulfilling, being able to be your full, whole self in relationships. And yet we know that not all relationships are awesome. Some are terrible, as you know. So I'd love if we can just start from your own personal experience of discovering that you got into a relationship and wow, was it toxic? And then being able to get out of that and then create something new on the other side.
Yeah, I love this topic, and anything relationship I'm obsessed with. So to give a little background, I got married at the beginning of 2020 to a man that I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. Obviously, I married him. And then in September 2020, the same year, in the midst of COVID and all of the world doing its thing, I separated from that man. Between January 2020 and September 2020, I experienced an extremely toxic relationship. I was in the depths of depression for a few months. I had to stop working completely. I lost 25 pounds, which is 13 kilograms. In 2 months, I was just a shell of who I was before that relationship. And it took a lot of strength and courage to leave a relationship and to let go of a vision of what I thought my life would be like with the person I married. From September 2020 up until, probably April or May this year, I was deep in the depths of my own healing, because when we experience a toxic relationship, we then have to go through a period of healing to heal ourselves.
Detox.
Totally. And get back to the place that we were at really before that relationship. And also know that these relationships serve a really huge purpose in our life. And so now I am in a relationship. I'm in a dance with a man that is actually a man. And that's where I'll begin with this is, we are always attracting into our life what we are. And so just to give a little context, when I met my husband, I was a woman that was out there yearning for love from a man. I didn't have a great relationship with my dad, still don't. And I was constantly going through life yearning for love from men. I just wanted to be loved so deeply by a man. And I know that's a lot of women out there. Like, we have this goal of to be in love and to have a family and to be in a happy relationship. And it's this thing that we're searching for and yearning for through life. And I was moving through life yearning for that. Now I'm a relationship coach, and I also was teaching women that we need to be whole within ourselves so that we can attract a person that's also another whole. And here I was unconsciously a half circle. I talk about like two half circles coming together and making a whole. And we want to be a full circle. But here I was, this half circle, feeling like I needed a man in my life, yearning for love for a man to feel complete. And so when I met my husband, I got what I was. And what I mean is I attracted a man into my life that was also yearning for love from a woman. And so he was another half circle. And so together, these two half circles came together and made a whole circle. And then that circle began to come unstuck. And as it did, we go back to these two people that are yearning and searching for something outside of ourselves to make ourselves whole. And so that relationship for me was extremely toxic, traumatic, painful. I still feel the depths of the pain in my belly because I'm still grieving and I'm still moving through my healing process of that. And through that relationship breaking down, I received the biggest gift of my life. And it happened about a week after we separated. I had this vision and I was looking at the sun, and I had this moment where I felt like I finally got it. And I said to my friend, oh my God, I've got it. And he was like, what? And I said, I just had this vision. And he said, what was it? And I said, I just had this vision of the healthy masculine energy within me saying to the queen within me, hey, I've got you. Go out there and shine your light so bright. Go out there and express yourself fully. And I want you to know that I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. You are safe with me. I'm holding you. I'm loving you. I'm supporting you. And when you're ready to land softly, I'm here for you. And in that moment, I connected to the healthy masculine energy within me that my whole life I had been disconnected to. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I became for myself everything I was yearning for from a man. And this was the thing that literally shifted the trajectory of my life and the way I showed up for myself and the way I moved through life. So now I'm in a dance with a man that is beautiful and he's complementing my life in a beautiful way. Yet if he leaves, I'm still whole and I'm okay.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that you're able to talk about this with a sense of lightness, right? Because I think that there are a lot of experiences of leaving a relationship that's toxic where the aftermath lingers for a very long time and there's still a lot of heaviness around it. And I think that what you're really talking about in one way here is that there's a potential to actually create some distance from the heaviness of that and actually lift up out of that. And I want to just say one thing about, for me, I think about the difference between something that's toxic and something that's abusive. And I think that there is some nuance on there that I just want to unpack for a moment for our viewers here. I define, and a lot of people define abuse really as a systematic way of taking power and control, being in control over someone else, right? And I also think that toxicity is can just be somebody who complains all the time. A sense of complaining in the environment can just be so detrimental because it limits the capacity to be joyful or to be looking out like a vision, like where do I want to go today? How did you unpack that experience that you had and then go into this new relationship with a sense of trust, with a ability to say, okay, I'm actually available. Because I think the other side is, for a lot of women that I've talked to and a lot of men is that after I had a relationship and it ends badly or I felt really hurt, then the next time I go into a relationship, I'm super guarded, I'm really protected, right? So I'd love for you to talk about that, of you being open and available.
Yeah. Well, firstly, we can't rush our healing, and our healing will take as long as our healing needs to take. For some people, it might be 3 months, for some 3 years, and it doesn't matter. It's just your healing will take as long as your healing needs to take. Now, real talk, I've been in this dance with this man for about 3 months. It's been amazing and beautiful. And last week, I drove past the spot where I got married. And as I drove, and I drive past there 4 times a week, but I just happened to drive past about a week and a half ago. And in that moment, I felt all of this sadness and heaviness come over me. Mm-hmm. And then for the next week, I asked my partner, would you be okay to honor some space that I need? And he was just like, of course. And I said, I think I'm grieving my marriage. And he was like, okay. And I said, I need space to be with myself and my process because I don't want to project anything onto you. And he was just like, of course, I'm here for whatever you need. Take your time, do what you need to do. And so I am still grieving my marriage. Yeah. I'm grieving the death of a vision that I thought I was going to have with a man. And I'm also grateful that I'm not in that relationship anymore because it was abusive and it was toxic and it was many things, controlling, manipulative. However, the healing will take as long as the healing needs to take. And it's so important for us to spend time with ourselves and be in our healing. Doesn't mean you can't be in a new relationship. You absolutely can. But what happens is when we're in a new relationship and we don't honor ourselves in the space we actually need to heal, we do project onto somebody else. Coming to like trusting a new relationship, new person, new experience.
Yeah.
And I constantly have to remind myself of this, because when we go through trauma, which I'm deeply trained in trauma and it's a big part of the work I do with my clients, we've all been through thousands of traumas in our life, and going through a toxic relationship is traumatic.
Yeah.
And so when we go through trauma, if we don't actually work with somebody and begin facing off with our traumas and the things that have hurt us, we store them in our body. And then they become sickness and disease. And then they come out somewhere else in our life. You imagine a beach ball and you're in a pool and you're pushing a beach ball underwater. The beach ball just keeps popping up everywhere. Same with our traumas. If we don't face off with them and heal them, we're pushing them down, and then they come out in a fight or anger or not trusting this person or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so for me, I constantly am reminding myself, new person, new experience. And I still have trauma come up in my life. And it happened last week when I was moving through this process, where I remembered what situation I was in 12 months ago today, which was extremely toxic. And then somebody said something to me and it triggered all of that trauma in my body.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh my God, this guy is possibly going to do that too. But that's just my trauma speaking. And that's what I have to look at, because this guy's a new experience and he's a new person. So I'm never going to have that same experience again, because I'm a new person too. And I'm having a new experience with a new person.
Beautiful.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Of course, that makes sense. Perfectly. I love this analogy that you're using about the beach ball underwater, that of course it's going to show up. I always think about, an elbow coming out just to like pop you, it's like, we're going this way, but all of a sudden there's an elbow coming out. Right. So I love this. I love this analogy. And also, new moment, new person, new relationship, new experience. I think that is, that for me in my own personal life, that has made an enormous difference, even just in simple introductions of new people, right? On a team or in a group, not even the intimacy of a romantic relationship, but even just trying to remember that and live that, like, this is not that last person, right? This is not that person who X, Y, and Z. This is a new moment, right? And I love what you also said about, I'm a new person now, right? How empowering that is to recognize that as you continue to grow, as I continue to grow, then we're not chained to or bound to behave or to think the same way we were a year ago or 10 years ago when we were in some previous relationship.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. One of the other things that I saw on your on your website was this piece around, you talk about living unapologetically. And I'd love for you to talk about that in the context of this piece around, being fully expressed and being in relationship.
Yeah, that's a huge piece. And it's been a really big part of my work in this lifetime within myself, is like, leaning into my fullest expression and living my life unapologetically. And, this, to give a backstory, I used to be very insecure. I cared what people thought. I thought I was unattractive. I was described as a mouse and invisible by people. I was like the girl that would hide, and not want to be seen. But really deep down, I wanted to be seen, but I was like hiding away because I was so insecure and no confidence. And, so much has shifted in my life in the last 7 or 8 years from doing so much inner work on myself and being so committed to that. And for me, our fullest expression, the truth of who we are, is our birthright. Like, we are entitled to show up fully. And it's actually a miracle that we're here in the human body. We're having this life experience. It's actually a miracle. And God, Great Spirit, the universe, whoever you call it, gave you this life, gifted you this life because your fullest expression is needed here on earth. Your voice is needed here on earth. Yeah. And so for me, what my fullest expression is, or my self-expression is using my voice in every way possible. Singing as a prayer to the earth, like that has changed my life completely. Saying a powerful yes to myself and no to other people, speaking my truth in every situation, no matter what somebody thinks.
Yeah.
That's a part of my fullest expression. Another aspect is moving my body and dance. Like I come from a dancing background, but using my body and moving how I want to move in my life. Walking into a bar or walking into a restaurant or an event and just allowing myself to be seen and allowing my fullest energy to be there, however that is that day, whether it's like reserved or whether it's out there. Like owning my quirkiness, owning my uniqueness. This is fullest expression. And unfortunately, somewhere along the way for most of us, as we've gone through our childhood or our teenage years, some things have happened, experiences, circumstances, events happen that have us feel wounded, that then have us hide parts of ourselves away because we deem it not safe to show up in our fullest expression. We might be judged, we might be criticized or something like that. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but
go ahead.
For that, your fullest expression is so needed and necessary, and it's actually medicine to our earth.
Yeah.
Like all of us, whatever that is. And so for me, one thing in like, there's so many aspects to expression, but for me, using my voice and singing, I love singing. It's medicine for me. It's healing. Like when I'm going through something, singing is healing for me. And to go a little further, and this is a little deep, but it's important information. I come from a background where I was sexually abused in a situation of rape. Our skin in our vagina and our skin in our throat is the same. It's made of the same skin.
Sure.
So when we go through a sexual trauma or molestation or anything, it could just be in a relationship where maybe you didn't use your voice and say no. This impacts our voice and us using our voice. So often women will have problems with their throat chakra and using their actual voice or speaking their truth or asking for what they want and need. And this is all part of your expression. I grew up in a family where my dad was a singer. My sister was a great singer. My brother had a good voice. And my mum used to say to me, oh, you have a bad voice like my side of the family. And I love my mum dearly, and she never said that to traumatize me, but it stuck with me. And I was like, oh, I don't have a good voice. Yeah. So I grew up like feeling really shameful about my voice. Over the last maybe 5 years, and I sit in plant medicine ceremonies quite a lot. They're a very big part of my life and my healing. Through the plants, through the master teachers, they've helped me unlock my voice and begin using my voice as a prayer through song. And this has been one of the most healing things, not just for my expression, but for my sexual trauma too. So beautiful. Fullest expression can be anything, but it can be different for every single person. But it's so important for us to do the work to help us unlock what our fullest expression is, because it's medicine for other people and the earth.
Beautiful. I appreciate that you're bringing in the connection around when we do experience trauma. Of course, it gets lodged in our body and it can look some way that we may not be immediately aware of. Right. So, there's other research around women who do experience sexual trauma. It interacts with their inner ear. And so they can literally be off balance, be dizzy, not be able to walk a straight line, kind of trip easily, right? Kind of stumble and fall. So this experience of like when we do experience this trauma, that it actually knocks us off balance, right? So it's hard to maintain our ground, more difficult to speak our truth or say what is real for us, right? Because the actual flesh in our body has been reorganized a little bit. And until we really bring some intentional attention and love to ourselves, then, it's still in there. We get to unlock it through this intentional love. There are so many people that I run into, especially women, whether it's like in the grocery store, or we might talk over each other now that we're in the Zoom room a lot. Two women, I see them, want to talk at the same time. And one will say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or bump into each other at the grocery store. "Oh, I'm sorry." And that really struck me years ago. And I just decided for myself, I'm just not going to say I'm sorry. I'm going to say, "Oh, hello. Yes, no, right after you." Or, something else besides "I'm sorry for living in my body and taking up space in the world." And it's one of the things that I talk to the women that I work with as well around, you're allowed to make mistakes, or you're allowed to bump into people, without apologizing without, the retracting on the other side.
Yes. It's crazy. I love that you brought this up. I remember years ago, I got told I was a walking apology. And it really hurt when I got that feedback, because it was true. I was this girl who walked around apologizing for everything,
Yeah.
And I remember there was this guy that I was talking with, back and forth. We had a little connection. And I remember at the same time that one of my coaches said, "Amy, can I share something with you?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "Please, I'm not saying this to upset you, but you're a walking apology."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh." And at the same time, I was messaging this guy. And I looked back at the last message I sent to him on the same day that I got this feedback. And I said sorry to this guy 3 times in one sentence.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, I am a walking apology.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that anymore. No way.
Yeah.
And so, instead of "Oh, I'm sorry I'm late," thank you for your patience with my response. I say that to this day because I'm sure you get it too. It's sometimes our iPhones go ding way too many times, and sometimes I don't feel like responding to somebody. So instead of, "Oh, sorry, I didn't respond yesterday," thank you for your patience with my response. It's empowering. It's taking your power back versus giving it away.
And it's such a beautiful reframe, the same way that you say, and I say this too, that we get to own our voice. You get to own your voice, or use your voice, or wield your voice, which is really different than find your voice. Your voice is already in you.
Totally.
You just get to use it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a real big difference, right? Finding it as oh, it's out there, kind of like what you were talking about earlier. I'm looking for love. I just want to be loved. I just want somebody to feed me. Right. Which is really different than it's already inside me. Now I just need to crack it open, access it, put a little air in the tires and let's drive the car.
Yeah. I think this is beautiful. I just want to bring something up. And this is, I noticed this about my old self. And now this is the difference that I'm experiencing, is that when we are not whole within our, self-love is an ever unfolding journey. We don't ever get there. It's the mountains, the hills, we go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. However, when we meet that place of wholeness within ourselves in some way, shape, or form, we move in relationship differently. And what I see through the women that I work with, and I'm sure you probably see this too, is the women who haven't really found or connected to the wholeness within themselves, because again, it's within you. It's just you have to learn to connect with that part of yourself. If we're not connected in that way, we move in relationship in a way that's anxious, needy, always have the guy on our mind, and we're thinking about the guy, and our life revolves around that relationship. Whereas when we are experiencing wholeness within ourselves and we feel good and we're connected deeply to ourselves, we move through relationship in a way of trust. And we move through the relationship honoring ourselves first, and then the relationship, you know, versus putting the relationship first and then us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say it's slightly different, which is when I trust myself, I can trust you. It's easy when I'm trusting myself, then it's actually easy for me to trust you in relationship. And you know, as you were talking, I was thinking about, even from my own experience, there are some times where I am very outward focused in a feed me, I need attention because there's some feeling that I don't want to be feeling right now, or because I'm, you know, it could be something like, because I haven't done my personal practice to actually anchor myself inside myself. If I go too many days without that, then I'm going to be like looking outside of me because I haven't been on that, you know, like you said, self-love. It's this journey. It's this constant, like this ever evolving action and process and being with ourselves. Right. But if I get out of the practice, it's very easy to get into the state of anxiety in relationship, in any relationship in my life. Right. And the most intimate ones are the ones that I personally feel like, fix this situation, you know, like take care of this for me. And ultimately that's not where I really want to be, because it feels much better to be in this place, like standing in my space, fully up and down, right? And with
centered,
the space
grounded.
in front of me. Available.
Available.
So I love all of what you have shared here today. Well, thank you so much, Amy Louise Cash. It was wonderful to talk with you today and to be able to take a little journey into your personal story and then unpack that for how many of us can show up in relationship. And I found myself to, you know, feel like, oh, that's similar to the way I've experienced life, right? And look at what the possibilities are on the other side. So thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And for everyone else, come back tomorrow for another juicy conversation.